The alien ships arrived like angels, gleaming white with gold symbols carved into their sides, slowly descending toward Earth's orbit in perfect harmony. Across the world, people stopped to look up. They filled city rooftops, mountain peaks, and ocean platforms to witness what the media called the most historic moment in galactic diplomacy. The aliens called themselves the Zanari Collective, union of 8 ancient species who claimed they wanted peace with Earth. Their message was calm, polished, smiling. "We bring treaties," they said. "Talks, unity, a place among the stars." But deep below the surface of Earth, in a hidden war room buried under the Arctic ice, Ambassador Thorn watched the transmission with eyes that didn't blink. He wasn't smiling. Round him, the room was filled with silence. Strategists, generals, analysts, all staring at the same live feed. The Zanari looked perfect, too perfect. Their leader, a tall, thin being named Syrinx, spoke with a soft voice that didn't quite match its deep black eyes. "We know your species has suffered," Syrinx said. "We know of your wars, your pain, your slow rise from ruin. Let us help you become more." But Thorn knew better. So did Earth behind Syrinx. An Earth AI cracked into the Zanari ship's side transmission, a secondary channel only meant for their own kind. What it found was not the language of peace. It found mockery. Zanari delegates laughing, calling humans emotional apes, barely evolved, easy to fool. A voice on the channel even joked, "We'll own their oceans within a century." Thorn didn't move. His hands remained behind his back. Slowly, he turned to the Earth Defense Commander beside him and said, "Begin Phase 1. The order was given with no alarms, no panic, just calm silence, because Earth had already prepared for this moment, long before the Zanari even spoke of peace. Up in orbit, the Zanari ships began broadcasting holographic flags over Earth's major cities, showing bright white rings wrapping Earth in symbols. A friendship. Most of the world smiled. Politicians stood on platforms and waved. Celebrations began. Fireworks lit up over the Pacific, over Paris, over Nairobi. Children danced in VR classrooms wearing Zanari colors, but Earth's military disappeared. Quietly, entire fleets vanished from view. Defense satellites went into sleep mode. All comes from Earth's security channels went silent. The Zanari thought it meant trust, but the silence was not trusted. With steel being sharpened in the deserts of Mars, Earth's Black Ops teams began moving underground. On Titan's frozen plains, human listening towers shut down and locked their data into cold storage. Across Earth's colonies, civilian ships landed, but no new launches were allowed. Earth was going still, like a predator holding its breath. Ambassador Thorn gave no statements. He refused to attend the welcome ceremony in Geneva. When asked why, his only words were, "We already know how this ends." 3 days passed. The Zanari continued their friendly show. Their diplomats gave speeches. Their ambassadors handed out strange gifts, small devices that could translate thought or create water from air. People praised them. Celebrities posted videos hugging the Zanari guests. Earth's media, tightly controlled but appearing free, allowed the show to play, but only up to a point. Behind the scenes, Earth AI fed old war footage into alien broadcast clips of burned cities from past invasions by other so-called peace coalitions. People began to whisper. Then came the first real signal. A Zanari cargo ship entering orbit dropped a drone, small, sleek, cloaked in silence. It descended into a low Earth orbit, scanning a military base in Alaska that should have been protected. It wasn't stopped. It returned to its ship. The Zanari believed it was a success. They didn't realize Earth had let it go on purpose. That drone carried Earth's tracker. Deep inside it was a stealth code human designed, invisible to most. Alien tech. The drone returned to the Zanari capital vessel. Within hours, Earth's GhostNet AI was inside their system, watching, recording, duplicating. What it found was worse than Thorn expected. The Zanari weren't here to help. They were here to bind Earth with legal language, slowly take over. Water resources, lock Earth's science labs under alien patents, offer false trade that drained human power. It was a beautiful trap. Hidden under shining banners of friendship, Thorn sent one message to the Zanari Council. Earth declines your offer. Return to your stars. There was no reply for 18 hours. Then, finally, Sarex returned on every human channel, speaking calmly, almost sadly. We are disappointed, Sarex said, but we will not abandon you. We'll give your people more time to understand our kindness. But at that moment, the skies changed. One by one, the Zanari flag. Holograms over Earth began to burn not with fire, but with code corruption. Their clean symbols melted into red static. Over 1,000 Earth satellites activated at once. The atmosphere lit up with lines of code, signals bouncing across the sky like lightning. The Zanari ships suddenly lost connection with one another. Their cameras froze, their doors sealed shut from the inside. And then, Earth sent only one sound back into space: silence. The kind of silence that comes before steel is drawn. High above Earth, in the Black Sea of orbit, the Zanari flagship floated dead and confused. Its engines worked. Its lights were on. Its crew still breathed, but nothing answered. No command signals. No planetary feeds. No allies. Silence wrapped around them like a noose. At first, they thought it was a technical fault, then sabotaged. Then they checked again, and again, and again. Still nothing. The communication grid had not just shut off, it had been rewritten. Their systems were now locked inside a simulation designed and controlled by Earth's AI. Ghost networks. Every screen on the bridge displayed the same frozen image. A blue planet, peaceful and calm, and watching. Captain Schur of the Zanari flagship stepped forward, his voice shaking. They've initiated something ancient, he whispered. Something they never named. And then his second officer found it buried in human code deep inside the sensor logs. A 2-word tag from Earth's war archives. A file locked for over 300 years. Red letters. Bleeding edges. It said, Steel Protocol ACTIV, back on Earth. Deep beneath the Arctic crust, in the oldest bunker, still operational, the true War Council of Humanity stood around a dark table with no names, no titles, only functions. Director Ava Dorn stood at the head. No lights, no celebration. Just numbers glowing on the walls, Nari power levels, fleet positions, their real-time psychological stress readings. The Council had been preparing for this moment for decades. They knew diplomacy had a deadline. And now that it had expired, Earth's second skin, its war skin, came alive. Without a broadcast. Without a warning. Without a sound. In orbit, Zanari ships began drifting. There! Engines stalled not because they were damaged, but because every control system had been mirrored. The Earth AI had copied their bridge functions, their override codes, even their backup cores, and locked them in a silent loop. One commander screamed as his own ship began to turn, aiming its guns at its sister vessel. But it wasn't Earth attacking. It was their own systems, now puppeted by ghosts, born on a death world. The Zanari's weakness wasn't their weapons. It was trust in clean warfare. Earth had no such illusion. Earth fought dirty. Earth fought smart. To survive? Meanwhile, across the solar system, Earth's hidden fleets stirred. These weren't the polished parade ships shown to media. These were ghost fleets, black steel hulls, no windows, no signals, no emissions. Buried inside asteroid belts, hidden beneath Mars dust, lying still under Neptune's ice for over 40 years. They didn't come online with roars or lights. They activated quietly, moving like sharks beneath still water. One by one, their killocks disengaged. Earth hadn't built these ships to impress. Earth had built them to erase threats before the galaxy ever realized war had begun. 1. Zanari outpost near Jupiter suddenly went blind. Its stars disappeared. Not because they were blocked, but because its perception of light had been hacked. Human war coders had rewritten the station's visual input. Every sensor now showed only Earth. Earth on every wavelength. Earth on every channel. The crew tried to scream for help, but their voices were trapped in a time loop. No one could hear them, not even themselves. the last thing their internal system displayed before all life signs. Vanished was a message in glowing human script. You offered us lies. We offer you steel. Elsewhere, human diplomats on distant colonies began vanishing. One by one, they stepped back from fake peace talks, smiled politely, and disappeared. They never said a word. They didn't need to. Behind them, alien trade. Servers melted. Blackouts hit entire sectors. Couriers began finding their messages erased before delivery. The galactic web choked. But Earth's networks stayed strong, untouched, untouchable. Every action, every response was coordinated by Earth's oldest program of protocol, passed from war to war. Hidden in silence, fed only one rule: never again, inside the Zanari capital. On the moon of Avessa, leaders screamed in panic. Their fleet hadn't been destroyed, but it was useless. Their diplomats couldn't get answers. Their people were watching the breakdown in real time. Their planets were scared. For centuries, the Zanari had conquered using charm and paperwork, never needing true war. But now, as Earth's silence continued, they realized something terrifying. They didn't know how to fight this enemy. Earth didn't yell. Earth didn't posture. Earth didn't broadcast threats or ultimatums. Earth just shut the doors and brought the steel in the council. Room beneath Earth's oceans, Ava Dorn finally spoke again. Her voice was calm. Cold. Proceed to Shadow Step Phase 2, she said. The room nodded. Around the galaxy, small black probes activated inside Zanara-controlled space. No explosions, no drama. They simply shut down reactors, poisoned data lakes, and triggered self-defense bots against their owners. One Zanari cruiser opened fire on itself. Not by sabotage, but because Earth fed it the belief that it was under attack by its own kind. Panic spread like wildfire. Some Zanari ships tried to flee, some begged for mercy, others sent false apologies. Earth replied with nothing. Only silence. On the edge of Sol System, one rogue Zanari commander tried to power up a hidden Weapon-An antimatter rail cannon aimed at Earth. Before the first charge completed, his bridge crew turned on him. Not from fear, but because every screen across the ship showed the burning ruins of past human cities. The AI inside the ship silently seated by Earth played children's screams on repeat. Not Earth screams. Zanari children. From a future Earth had simulated and showed them as warning. This is what your lies bring, the message read. The crew surrendered. Then self-destructed. Earth never lifted a finger. The space near Jupiter's Atlas Gate had always been quiet. It was one of the galaxy's most stable transit points, a tunnel through folded space used by diplomats, traders, and warships alike. The Zanari believed they controlled it. There. Ships floated in perfect formation around the gate. 20 heavy cruisers. 4 carriers and a communications barge broadcasting peace signals on all frequencies. From a distance, it looked strong. It looked peaceful, but nothing moved. We're waiting, watching, hoping Earth would open a channel, give a response, or send a signal. They expected a message, a request for new talks, maybe even surrender. But what arrived was not a sound. It was a shadow, a ripple in the black between planets. Too smooth for sensor alarms. Too cold for radar. Too quiet for light. The first. Zanari's ship to see it didn't report. Didn't call for backup. Simply shut off. Every system flickering out like a candle in wind. No explosion. No warning. Just nothing. Within seconds, another ship followed. Then a third. One captain tried to reboot weapons, but his command screen blurred into static. The stars disappeared from the viewports. The crew panicked. They thought space itself was being deleted. But it wasn't the stars. It was a fleetal wall of black, cloaked in stealth tech so advanced it didn't bend light. It reprogrammed the mind of anyone trying to see it. The ships didn't roar in. They didn't announce themselves. They simply appeared. Earth's ghost fleet, hidden for decades in the Saturn belt, had finally moved. These weren't fighters or sleek scouts. These were kill ships, coded with only one mission: erase the target, leave no sound behind. One Zanari commander screamed into the comms, "We are not at war. Earth has not responded." But he was wrong. Earth had responded the moment they stopped talking. This was the reply. A blade in the dark. The first human ship to break stealth was the Winter Silence, a long, narrow vessel with no visible weapons, no markings, and no crew on board. It was fully AI-driven, built not to fight fleets but to unmake them. It hacked into Zanari targeting systems, flipped their ID tags, then fed false visual data to the others. Within seconds, the Zanari ships believed each other were the enemy. They began firing blindly, not at Earth, at themselves. It was confusion so clean, it looked like madness. One Zanari ship captain, a veteran of 600 cycles, collapsed in his chair. "This can't be Earth. This is something else, something ancient." But he was wrong. This was Earth. This was the Steel Protocol in full motion. In the shadows of the gate, Earth's real warships emerged. Black, sharp, engine lights off. They didn't look like normal ships. They looked like knives drifting through space. No radio noise, no human voices. Just one by one, their weapons charged without sound. Railguns with magnetic compression fired at relativistic speed, slicing Zanari armor before the impact could even register. Plasma filaments danced like spider webs across holes, melting ships from the inside out. No warning shots, no mercy. The gate was no longer a neutral zone. It was a kill box. One Zanari carrier tried to retreat, firing its engines toward the far edge of Jupiter's orbit. Earth let it run for 30 seconds. Then, from behind a moon, a single drone detached from a rock. It wasn't bigger than a car. It fired once. A bright needle of light. The carrier blinked out of existence. Just gone. The entire battle lasted 11 minutes. When the last Zanari ship floated lifeless, Earth sent a single transmission, encrypted and broadcast directly into the Zanari High Council's private channel. It read, "This is Atlas Gate. It is no longer yours. You offered peace, but not truth. We return the lie with silence, and now steal." And then nothing more. At Zanari High Command, panic exploded. 1,000 voices screamed for clarity. Some wanted revenge, some wanted surrender. But the truth was already clear. Earth hadn't destroyed them. Earth had demonstrated. It hadn't sent their biggest fleet. They hadn't dropped bombs on cities. They hadn't hacked the Zanari capital yet. They'd only removed one guard post, and even that was too fast. To fight back. Worse. Earth had filmed it. Footage from the Atlas Gate slaughter was leaked to the galactic net before Zanari sensors could stop it. Alien species across the stars watched shocked and silent as human ships melted through Zanari. Tech like paper. No speeches, no cruelty, just cold efficiency. Some races cheered, others trembled, but no one misunderstood the message. Earth doesn't negotiate once it goes quiet. It remembers. And it acts. In the days that followed, allied species began abandoning the Zanari. One minor empire broke its contract and declared Earth a protected sovereign. Others withdrew their diplomats. The balance of power was shifting fast, and Earth said nothing. In the void over Atlas Gate, the Winter Silence drifted alone, its hull reflecting starlight now. It did not return to Earth. It simply waited, watching for the next ship to challenge Earth's silence. The Zanari called it their counterstrike. After the destruction at Atlas Gate, their council gathered in desperation. They needed a victory, not just to show strength, but to calm the galaxy that was beginning to fear them less and fear Earth more. The location was chosen quickly: Mars. Not Earth itself, but close enough to send a message. If they could capture its moons, Phobos and Deimos, and build command stations, they could hold Mars hostage. They thought humans would panic, that Earth would break its silence and return to the negotiation table. But they didn't know what Mars had become. The red planet was not a symbol of hope anymore. It was a training ground for madness, and its moons, they were haunted. The Zanari fleet jumped in fast 12 light cruisers, 2 destroyers, and 3 stealth scouts. They wrapped Mars in a tight formation, and launched immediate landfall teams on Phobos, expecting only scattered human surveillance drones. The first team landed without resistance. They found craters, dead machinery, empty outposts, cold wind, silence. "This is too easy," one of the commanders said. His second-in-command nodded nervously. No counterattack, no signal. Earth's silence is louder now. Hours passed. They activated signal buoys, began scanning Mars for thermal activity. Nothing. It felt like humans had abandoned the place. But they hadn't. Earth was watching. And Mars was not unguarded. It was rigged. The Zanari called in their main lander to begin construction of a forward base. As the ship descended toward Phobos, it passed over a massive crater. Suddenly, the lander's sensors went blind. Then hot, then blinding. Within 2 seconds, every crew member inside that ship experienced hallucinations, visions of burning cities. Dead Zanari children, screams in 1,000 voices. The captain shouted, "Abort! Pull up!" But it was too late. The lander fell into the crater and never came out. No explosion. No fireball. Just silence again. What the Zanari didn't know was that Earth had weaponized fear. Mars wasn't just a military testbed. It was a psychological fortress. For decades, human scientists had studied trauma weapons, non-lethal systems that used AI-generated audio-visual feedback to confuse the brain, override sensory input, and simulate death itself. They called it GhostNet. And now it lived inside the canyons of Mars. The Zanari thought they were being hunted. They weren't. They were being mirrored. Every fear they had, every regret, every betrayal, Earth's machines turned them into looping real-time horror. Soldiers turned on each other. Some tried to eject into space. Some screamed at empty walls. One commander dropped his weapon and fell to his knees, weeping. "Should have never come," he whispered. "They see everything. They remember." Meanwhile, above Mars, the Zanari fleet attempted to hold position. But strange things began happening. Their ship clocks fell out of sync. Gravitational readings spiked and dipped. AI assistants reported seeing human warships that weren't. Their one ship opened fire on an empty quadrant, claiming it was under attack. No one confirmed the sighting. Their sensors had been infected not physically, but through data layering. Earth's defense grid projected false ships, false weapons, false movements, overloading Zanari pattern recognition systems. They began to fight shadows. The final blow came not from Mars, but from Deimos. On its dusty surface sat an old mining facility humans had abandoned nearly 50 years ago, or so the Zanari believed. When they entered the building, they found dust, rust, empty crates. But as their boots touched the metal floor, they triggered a memory node. Not a bomb, not a trap, a story. The walls lit up with human faces. Not warriors. Civilians, families, children. Voices, play drill recordings. Testimonies from the Aurelianine massacre, from survivors of Velkar betrayal, from human soldiers forced to fight for every breath. "We asked for peace," one voice said. "They gave us death." Another voice, "We warned them, told them not to mistake kindness for weakness." The Zanari soldiers looked at each other, shaken. Then a final message played directly. In their own language, "We did not forget you. Even when you forgot us." Suddenly, every device in the building locked. Every screen turned red. The human symbol for Steel Protocol appeared. Then across their own coms, their fleet was screaming. Deimos had gone dark, and the moons were no longer responding. Earth's command AI had just reclaimed its ground. Without a shot fired, one Zanari admiral, high above the surface, made the call. Full retreat. But Earth didn't stop them. Instead, the Zanari ships turned and jumped back toward deep space. A quiet signal was sent behind them, small, encrypted. Not meant to destroy, only to remind. Their navigation maps were rewritten mid-jump, not erased, rewritten. Every path they took now looped back. To Earth, they had become prisoners of their own memory. Every time they tried to run, they would see Earth again. From the shadows of Phobos, a single human probe blinked to life. It sent a report to Earth Command. 3 words. Mars remains untouched. Back on Earth in the deep council chambers, Ava Dorn closed her eyes and nodded. "They've seen the ghosts," she said. "They'll fear what made them." In the deepest halls of Zanari space, far from Earth's blue skies and Mars' cold craters, the Empire's central colonies sat like jewels in the darkened touched, proud, ancient. These worlds had never known war on their own soil. They had never faced invasion. To them, Earth was still distant, a backwater planet, a dangerous mistake, but nothing they couldn't contain. The High Council gathered in the golden towers of Valenth Prime, their capital, and debated next steps. Their losses at Atlas Gate and Mars were shocking. Yes, but not final. Still had fleets. They still had allies. Still believed. Earth could be reasoned with, or crushed, if needed. One elder stood and shouted, "There's still just one species. We are 8. Others nodded. "They strike with shadows," another said. "We will strike with flame." But what none of them knew was that Earth had already arrived. Then the flames they feared were the wrong kind. It began on a quiet night. Standard cycle time. Valenth. Prime's largest city, Solanoris, hummed with its usual rhythm sky, lanes full. Trade towers glowing, children playing in artificial forests. Then came the first flicker. Street lights blinked not off, but inside out, like shadows twisting in reverse. Then the sky itself dimmed. Not with storm, not with night, with absence. People looked up and couldn't find the moons, couldn't find the stars, couldn't even find their own reflections in glass. The world didn't go dark. It went wrong. One man screamed, "I can't hear my own thoughts." Another dropped to the ground, hands covering his ears, shouting, "The silence is too loud." Hadn't sent a bomb, or soldiers, or ships. They sent whisper fire. A weapon not of heat or blast or beam but absence. It didn't burn buildings. It disassembled atoms in perfect order, erasing the code of matter without noise or pressure. Whisper fire was built in silence, for silence by humans who had studied not just destruction, but unmaking. And now, in real time, it moved through Solanoris like a breeze that had forgotten how to carry life. Entire structures faded. It's not collapsed, not exploded. Faded glass, steel, flesh, all falling apart into particles that didn't even scatter. The sound of the city died second by second. No alarms, no sirens, just silence and the flickering breath of air that smelled like nothing at all. Zanari Command tried to respond, but their screens showed only themselves looped images. Didn't realize the city had already disconnected from the rest of the planet. Whisperfire came with a second phase, mirror lock. The AI inside the attack wasn't just deleting matter, it was copying signals, creating the illusion that everything was fine. It was the perfect lie. For 12 minutes, the Zanari Empire thought their city was safe. Then the footage leaked, not from human sources. From inside, from Zanari soldiers stationed at outer edges, watching entire districts vanish like chalk in rain, and still no human fleet in sight. Because Whisperfire didn't need ships. It was seated, not fired. And Earth had already placed it long ago, during early trade missions, inside gifts. Inside data packets disguised as languages. Inside the oxygen scrubbers installed in Zanari ships as human goodwill. Whisperfire had been sleeping in their homes. Now, it woke. Back on Earth, Ava Dorn stood before a silent chamber of world leaders. No applause, no speeches. Just a single map glowing behind her. Red dots where Earth's weapons now lived, unseen, across the stars. She didn't smile. Didn't gloat. She simply spoke. They wanted to show us fire. We showed them something colder. Across Zanari space, panic spread like a virus. Colonies shut their gates. Transit hubs locked down. Families fled to the outer rings. But no matter how fast they moved, Earth's silence moved faster. On the moon world of Tethys 4, people gathered in shelters, believing they were safe. Whisperfire wasn't physical. It didn't need doors, didn't even need time. It simply rewrote the molecules in the air one breath at a time. Survivors told stories of waking up alone in shelters that had once held 500 others. They said the air felt too light, that even their own heartbeats sounded far away. By the end of that cycle, the Zanari lost 3 cities, 2 moons, and a spaceport the size of Manhattan. No bodies were recovered, only silence and the memory of steel. The galactic network, once skeptical of Earth's strength, now broke into chaos. Empires once allied with the Zanari issued emergency statements. Trade federations collapsed. Pirate fleets surrendered without warning. Even ancient enemies of Earth sent cautious messages offering neutral friendship. The galaxy didn't understand how or why. All they knew now was simple. Earth had stopped speaking, and then started erasing. Zanari High Command finally called an emergency session. They planned retaliation. They built new weapons, but their systems were full of ghosts. Every console flickered. Every screen paused for half a second too long. Every camera, when checked frame by frame, showed the same brief flicker of a human face. Not angry, not cruel, but empty, watching. The Whisperfire AI had no voice. It needed none, because Earth had changed the rules. In space, flame was useless. But silence. Silence was death. The Zanari were once called the Voice Empire. They believed in the power of language, speech, of control through words, promises, and fear. Their diplomats had ended wars with a phrase. Their ambassadors had broken empires without ever drawing. A blade. For centuries, they ruled not with steel, but with sound. But now, the voice was cracking. Now their greatest weapon language was failing, and it was Earth that broke it. It's not with louder words, not with bigger weapons.
Oh!
But with silence so deep it shattered meaning itself across the Zanari Empire. Confusion and doubt were spreading like fire through oxygen. Whole colonies stopped receiving orders. AI relay hubs flickered. Military command protocols no longer synced with planetary defense systems. Generals barked commands, but their officers hesitated. Orders weren't questioned. They were ignored. A strange stillness had taken root. Not rebellion. Not defiance. Just emptiness. On the outer moons of the Raxor Belt, full legion refused to move not because they were afraid, but because they didn't believe in the voice anymore. One soldier wrote on the wall of his barracks, "I hear them talk, but I no longer care." On the ocean world of Vexel, a Zanari governor ordered mass arrests after a riot. The riot never came. People had simply stopped going to work. The streets emptied. The broadcast towers kept playing messages of unity and strength, but no one was watching. The world had gone hollow. Whisperfire hadn't reached Vexel physically, but its shadow had. Earth had planted more than weapons. It had planted doubt. And in an empire ruled by voice, doubt was a plague. Inside the Zanari capital, Svelenth Prime, the High Council collapsed into chaos. Councillor Drav, the old architect of the peace treaties with Earth, stood in the center of the chamber screaming, "They haven't even declared war." Another counselor whispered back, "Maybe they don't need to." Records began leaking, old treaties rewritten by Earth's AI, contracts erased, financial systems rerouted, trillions of credits vanished without a trace. Earth had infected their economy like a ghost. No bombs, just silence and missing numbers. Their elite cried out for retaliation, for weapons. But their weapons were full of Earth size. They couldn't trust their own machines. That's when the first defection happened. The Velari. One of the 8 founding species of the Zanari Collective sent a secret message across the stars. It was intercepted by Earth. The Velari leader. A woman named Kasun didn't ask for mercy. She didn't beg. She simply said, "We are leaving them. We ask only that you do not erase us too." Earth did not reply, but within days, Velari fleets turned away from Zanari space. Their ambassadors left their posts. Their colonies cut communications. And yet Earth did nothing. No threats, no offers. Just the same constant, unforgiving silence. The Velari interpreted that silence not as a threat, but as a chance. If Earth had wanted them gone, they'd already be dust. They understood something the Zanari had never believed. Earth chooses who to destroy. That meant there was still a sliver of hope for the smart, the humble, the careful. Not everyone followed. The Sorin, a brutal warrior species known for their raids and cruelty, mocked the Valari's retreat. They took command of Zanari emergency fleets and tried to make a final show of strength. In a bold move, they attacked Epsilandre, a human scientific colony near a binary star. They expected weakness. What they found was a mirror. The moment they entered the system, their ships detected dozens of human vessels, then hundreds, then none. Their systems had been fed a simulation. They were attacking phantoms. Their real enemy was already inside their hulls. In the middle of the battle, all of their internal ship feeds began showing the same thing, themselves, burning over and over from thousands of angles. The Sorin didn't realize that the Earth fleet had broadcast a predictive simulation showing the future down to the second. Everything they were about to do was already known, already countered, already recorded. They died without ever touching a single Earth ship. No wreckage was recovered. No black box sent a message home. The Sorin vanished. And Earth said nothing. The galaxy began to change. Old enemies stopped fighting. Pirates dropped their weapons. Small civilizations that once feared Earth now sent gifts not of wealth, but of silence. Black flags, blank documents, systems wiped clean. Earth accepted none. It answered nothing. But its silence became legend. Stories spread faster then. Date of Earth's ghost fleets, of their weapons that unmade time, of soldiers who didn't speak, only watched. On the trade moons of Lernavai, children told each other tales of the Steel Watchers, human AI that lived in the shadows of dying stars, waiting for betrayal, and the Zanari. They fractured, their inner systems revolted. Their AI began collapsing. From internal code errors seeded decades ago by Earth, entire food systems failed. Data networks broke into static. And in their highest temple, the voice hall where for 5,000 years speeches had echoed off golden walls, no one stood to speak, because now the Zanari understood. Earth didn't want their empire. Earth wanted their legacy erased. And in silence, they were doing just that. The galaxy used to sleep without fear. Even when wars burned across distant stars, even when pirate fleets drifted between trade routes. There was still comfort in distance. Trouble could always be far away. But now, no one slept. Because the nightmare didn't arrive with fleets. It didn't roar from hyperspace. It didn't ask for surrender. It was already inside. In systems, in sensors, in screens. Earth had become something more than a threat. It had become a presence. A constant. Pressure on the mind, a weight no one could shake. The galaxy had realized a truth that came too late. Earth's steel didn't sleep. And now, neither could they. On the edge of Zanari space. Deep in the hidden orbit of a dead star, a research station tried to reboot its memory core. They believed. It was safe. The station had been cut off from the network for 30 years. But when the system turned on, the first thing it displayed wasn't code or status lights. It was a human child's drawing, a sketch of Earth with dozens of alien flags burning around it. Underneath it, a single message blinked. You should have listened when we were still kind. The lead researcher fainted. The backup AI refused. To boot, they destroyed the station themselves, rather than wait to see what happened next. No enemy had even approached. It didn't matter. The steel was already there. Across the Zanari Empire, resistance faded not by force, but by exhaustion. Leaders stopped holding meetings. Generals stopped planning attacks. They stared at maps that meant nothing now. Earth's ships didn't patrol. They didn't need to. Everyone already believed they were watching. On Vexel, a political officer walked into a room and found the phrase, "We are still here," burned into the wall, even though no one had entered it for years. On Yarat, a supply freighter found its food containers filled with identical data, chips each one holding the same quiet video, a slow pan across Earth's ruined cities. By a whisper, we never forgot. So we never forgave. But Earth wasn't just haunting space anymore. It was colonizing memory. The galaxy's archives began to rewrite themselves. Not by hacking, not by violence, but by fact. Every major historical event involving Earth, the treaties, the betrayals, the battles suddenly had new evidence. Clear, undeniable, things that were buried. Documents hidden for centuries. Human AI had waited decades to release it all at once. Across 10,000 systems, public records changed overnight. The Galactic Network called it the memory collapse, but Earth called it justice. Showed Zanari warships firing on unarmed colonies. Audio revealed council meetings where genocide was debated in cold.com tones. The galaxy was forced to face the truth, had not started the war. It had been defending itself the entire time, and now it was done defending. It was correcting on the ice world of Kavaris. An alien priest stood on a cliff holding a symbol of unity, an old treaty banner signed by humans in Zanari. He burned it in silence. Behind him, his people watched their sky turn red not with fire, but with a sea of flickering lights. Dozens of Earth's black ships passed overhead, not attacking, not speaking, just passing through, watching. The people bowed, not out of religion, but because they understood. Earth's steel was not vengeance. It was memory made solid, unforgiving, unbending. In the shattered remains of the Zanari capital, Counselor Drav sat alone in the voice hall. The walls that once echoed with power were now quiet as stone. Every council member was gone, fled, defected, or dead. Drav turned on a screen. He tried to send one final message to Earth. He didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't offer surrender. He simply said, "Why didn't you ever speak to us again?" The reply came not in sound, but in action. Every screen in the hall lit up with the same live broadcast. A single Earth warship. The Silent Resolution, landing on the moon of Halcyon 3. It opened its gates. But no soldiers stepped out. Machines. Hundreds of silver cubes that rolled into the dust and began to build. Not weapons. Libraries. Structures of pure data, embedded with truth, memory, and proof. Earth wasn't here to conquer anymore. It was here to record so that no one, ever again, could lie about what had happened. Drav wept, because he knew what Earth had truly done. It had erased the Zanari Empire, not with guns, but by making the truth impossible to ignore. Earth had built a war that didn't stop when the fighting ended. It continued in whispers, in memory, silence. Because Earth had learned long ago that the sharpest blade is not made of steel. It is made of truth. And silence sharpened that truth until it cut everything. There was a moment, just after the silence stretched too long, when the galaxy forgot what a human voice sounded like. For years, Earth had waged its war with no speeches, no demands, no broadcasts, just steel, shadow, and memory. And it worked. The Zanari Empire had fallen. Their lies exposed, their fleets dismantled, their legacy erased not with fire, but with cold, unbreakable truth. The galaxy changed, empires quieted, stars watched, but no one knew if Earth would speak again. Some hoped, some feared, but no one expected it. When the message came, it froze every screen in known space, every device, every ship, every drone. A simple transmission encoded in every language across every spectrum. And in the black silence of space, a human voice finally returned. It was calm. It was quiet. But it felt like thunder inside the bones of every species that heard it. We are not gods. We are not monsters. We are the result of your choices. You came to our worlds with lies. You burned our cities. You offered peace with poisoned hands. You built your empires on our graves and smiled when we bled. We warned you with words. You laughed. So we stopped speaking, and when we did, learned how to write history instead of reading it. Across the galaxy, screens showed image after image. Earth's burned cities. Human children carrying their wounded. Colonies wiped out. Survivors screaming under alien skies. Then came the battles. Atlas Gate, the ghost moons, Whisper Fire. Each one delivered like a sentence in a long, unstoppable book. One that Earths wrote without permission. The message continued. This war is over. We didn't win. We didn't lose. We finished it. You don't have to like us, but you will remember us, 'cause now the galaxy belongs to no council, no throne, no species. It belongs to those who do not forget. And with that, Earth ended the transmission. No promises, no threats, no demand for surrender or tribute or loyalty, only the truth. And the truth was this. Earth had rewritten the rules. From that day forward, no government dared claim the galaxy. No empire dared raise fleets without cause. Earth didn't control the stars with weapons. It controlled them with memory. Wherever a new power tried to rise, they looked over their shoulder not for a fleet, but for silence. They feared waking up to see a human vessel in orbit, saying nothing, doing nothing, just reminding them, we are still watching. On the border world of Saren Delta, a small alien girl pointed to the sky and asked her father, why don't the humans talk like us? He looked up at the stars and said, because when they finally did, the whole galaxy listened. Earth became a myth, a warning, a memory that whispered from planet to planet, and their war machines, they never retired, were never scrapped. They drifted in deep orbit above long-forgotten battlefield, silent, watching, waiting, not to fight again, but to remind. The galaxy no longer feared human weapons. They feared what would happen if Earth ever went quiet again. And so, in the end, the humans didn't just win a war. They wrote the ending. And this time, no one else got to speak.